Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Chris Dost. Welcome to my channel, Biblical Languages and Literature. I'd like to welcome you to my new series on the book of Jonah. In this series, I am going to be producing videos on the Hebrew and Aramaic of Jonah. Now, Jonah, of course, was originally written in Hebrew, and it's in the Bible in its Hebrew form. And so we'll be going through the book of Jonah expositionally, one verse at a time. But we'll also be looking at the Aramaic Targum of Jonah, which was produced significantly later. But this is going to be a great opportunity for students to either beef up their Aramaic or also just to get exposed to the Aramaic Targumim. So in the Aramaic videos, I'm actually going to be presenting the Aramaic and the English translation of the Aramaic side by side. And hopefully this will encourage those who might have a little trepidation about getting into Aramaic to see that it's not so bad. If you can do Hebrew, you can do Aramaic. All right, if you have any comments or ideas about things you'd like me to produce in this series or in another series, please be sure to post your comments to the Patreon page. And I just want to say how appreciative I am of your supporting biblical languages and literature. When you subscribe to one of the paid tiers, it allows me the ability to continue producing high-quality videos and in-depth videos that help people to better understand biblical languages and biblical literature better. All right, let's get started. All right, so before I read the Hebrew of Jonah 1:1, I'd like for you to pause the recording and just try to read through it yourself. And if you're a beginner Hebrew student, before you even try to read the whole words, just try to identify the consonants on your own and then try to identify the vowel signs. If you're unfamiliar with the names of the consonants and the vowel signs, please be sure to check out the Unit 1 and Unit 2 videos of my Hebrew 1 course. Okay, go ahead and pause the recording. And when you're done, identifying all the consonants, vowels, and pronouncing the words as best you can, then hit the play button. Here we go. Vayihi devar Adonai el Yonah ven Amitai lemor. Vayihi devar Adonai el Yonah ven Amitai lemor. So the first word is Vayihi, Vav Yud He Yud, with the vowels Patach, Chirik Yud. Vayihi. And literally this can mean, and it happened, now it happened, and it was. I kind of lean more towards a translation of, now it happened that. The second word, devar, Dalet Beit Resh with a Shva and a Patach, devar. And this is the construct form, meaning the word of, So it's masculine singular construct. When it's in the absolute form, it would be vocalized with kamatz, where the shva is, and kamatz, where the patach is. Davar. But in the masculine singular construct, it is davar, and the vowels are reduced, which is very common for the construct state. After that, we have the tetragrammaton, the four-letter name of God, Yud-He Vav-He, which historically would have been pronounced something like Yahweh. But here it's vocalized with a shva and a kamatz. And while there are different traditions for how to pronounce this name so as to avoid actually pronouncing God's name, the one I tend to employ is Adonai, the word for Lord. And indeed, that's the tradition that most English translations of the Bible follow. They don't tend to write Yahweh's name. Instead, they'll write Lord with all caps. And that comes from a very old tradition dating back to the 3rd century. I actually discussed this in my book, The Subloco Notes. One of the footnotes deals with this, but the evidence, the clearest evidence we have shows that this tradition of reading Adonai, the word for Lord, in the place of Yud-He Vav-He dates back to at least the 3rd century BC. All right, so Vayihi devar Adonai. Now it happened that the word of the Lord, we supply the word of in English because this is a construct. So when a word is in the construct state, it's very common to add the English definite article before it and to supply the English word of after it, the word of the Lord. So it happened that the word of the Lord, and we're going to have to supply the verb came. So it happened that the word of the Lord came to El. Aleph Lamed Segol. The word of the Lord came to Jonah, Yud Cholam Vav Nun Kamatz He, Jonah, a name which means dove, which interestingly represents the idea of peace and wellness. You might want to ask yourself, how does that figure into the overall message of the book of Jonah? We'll come back to that later. If you'd like to see this video in its entirety, please be sure to check out my Patreon page, where there are various tiers giving you access to different levels and quantities of videos. Supporting the channel in this way helps me to continue producing in-depth videos on biblical languages and literature for you. I really appreciate your support. Thanks so much. See you in the next video.